I read Ben 10 issue 4, so let's talk about it. Probably don't need to say this, but spoilers ahead, so hit that like button, go read the issue, and come back here. So the issue starts off as we see this random family approaching this circus, and we get to see our first look to the main antagonist of this brand new arc, Zombozo, and he's calling the rest of the family in. And as the father and brother go on inside, it seems the little girl is left standing outside alone, but then suddenly she hears screaming going on inside of the circus. She enters the circus looking for what is happening inside, and suddenly the circus freak arrives right behind her, and we hear her screaming in the distance. And then all of a sudden we transition over to Ben, who transformed into Wildvine, and we see him screaming in pain for some reason. Because we finally get to see our first look to Wildvine, we finally get a much better look to his design within the comic, and yet it is brutal along with the whole panel that happens here as we see whatever is happening to Ben. We see him being wrapped around these purple tentacles, and we even see the tentacles ripping off Wildvine's arms, and yet that is by far one of the darkest moments I've ever seen in the entirety of the Ben 10 franchise. But I also love this moment too, and I like to think that this moment here may be setting up something big when it comes to a certain character. And when we see Wildvine's arms getting ripped off, we see Ben suddenly waking up within the rust bucket, and we see it turns out to have been a dream. We see Grandpa Max checking in on Ben, making sure he's okay, and as Ben tells him about the nightmare he was having, Gwen is making a remark towards Ben about him having to rely on the watch that he has now, and then we see Ben using the watch, what looks to be him finally controlling the Omnitrix. And yeah, we do get to see him transform into Four-Arms in a pretty awesome looking transformation scene, and he's trying to scare Gwen with him. I definitely have some mixed feelings over the fact that they're not really explaining on how Ben is able to transform into these versions of the aliens. It's kind of implied that it's emotions, but still, I wish that they would actually explain on how Ben is able to actually control these aliens now. But anyway, we see Ben trying to pick on Gwen a bit as Four-Arms, but Gwen fights back and manages to even trip Four-Arms, which even kind of makes Ben question on how that even works with his size. Later in the day, we see Ben and Gwen in their Alien Force color scheme. I find that to be a really cool Easter egg, and they're out shopping trying to grab supplies for the road trip. And as we see Ben finding some Sumo Slammer cards, he is coming across another very strange man in front of him. And that person is Thumbskull, as he hands Ben a flyer about the circus, and he just simply walks away. As Ben is looking over the flyer a little bit, Gwen comes out of nowhere and takes the flyer from him, and we see the two having a little bit more banter with one another. And even though Gwen states she wants to go to this little carnival, we see Ben state that he doesn't want to, mainly because he has that fear of clowns. And when they are in this argument, suddenly the Omnitrix starts to act up once again. And now, suddenly, Ben transformed into Heat Blast in the middle of this storm, and we suddenly see the two fighting each other yet again. And I also have some mixed feelings over this little interaction here, because what do you mean Ben is a Heat Blast and he doesn't burn down this entire store? But anyway, when this moment is happening, we also do get to see this weird purple bug in the background, and it looks a little bit cybernetic, so it's making me think this moment here may be teasing something big for the future that's related to the cyborg bear we saw in issue 1, and maybe something to do with Animo. We see Grandpa Max confronting Ben and Gwen about the little fighting they're doing in the store, but then Gwen shows the flyer to Grandpa Max, and he decides that they should all go to the carnival that night. So, later that night, we see them at the carnival, and when Grandpa Max is telling Ben that he shouldn't be using his powers in public, we see Ben basically just ignoring what Grandpa Max is telling him, and he transforms into Accelerate, trying to win some carnival games, but he doesn't win any of them despite being Accelerate. But even though Ben didn't win any of the games as Accelerate, it seems that Gwen was able to beat quite a few of them and even get quite a few prizes too. And I also kind of like the detail that we see here with Accelerate, as the dialogue with Accelerate, it looks to be combining a bunch of words together, which kind of implies that this version of Accelerate talks very fast every time we see him, which I kind of like that addition for the character. That makes sense with their ability. We also see Zombozo and one of the circus freaks watching Ben from afar, so now Ben is being targeted by Zombozo. But over on in space, we see Vilgax enjoying a little gross alien meal as he sees that he is well on his way to Earth, and that is definitely going to be very scary to see when he does finally arrive to Earth. We finally get to see Ben, Gwen, and Grandpa Max sitting within the circus, and when Zombozo comes out, it looks like he is hypnotizing some of the people within the crowd, telling them that a great man once said, "You have everything to fear, including fear itself," and that seems to get to Grandpa Max. All of a sudden, all the adults within the circus start to scream out in fear, and we see Ben putting together very quickly that Zombozo has something to do with it, and we see him transforming into what was once my favorite alien as a kid, Stinkfly. I do not like the new design they have for Stinkfly here, but I will admit I do like they kept the little antenna eyes for the character. I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, when Ben does transform into Stinkfly, Grandpa Max is honestly a little bit justifiably scared of Stinkfly and Ben disappearing all of a sudden. We see Zombozo calling over Grandpa Max over to him and telling him to obey him, but Grandpa Max is doing everything in his power to try to fight off the curse that Zombozo has put upon him. We see Stinkfly flying around the circus a little bit, trying his best to grab on it to Grandpa Max, but also defeating the circus freak, but this causes Grandpa Max to get even more scared, and we get to see him running away from the circus, but suddenly he falls off that cliff. And the issue ends as we see Ben transforming back into his human self as Grandpa Max is falling off that cliff, and Zombozo is watching from the background in maniacal laughter. So far, Ben 10 issue 4 isn't my personal favorite issue when it comes to the comic so far, but it is still a pretty great comic that shows off a lot of great body horror and a lot of awesome new character designs I'm sure I'm gonna love in the future of this comic. I'm definitely very curious to see where everything is gonna go from here after Grandpa Max goes a little bit insane from Zombozo's hypnotism, and I also can't wait to see what they're trying to set up with some of those robotic insects along with Vilgax's arrival in the very near future. But by far, one of my most anticipated things that they do set up within this issue is the thing they were doing towards the beginning of the issue with Ben's nightmare, where we saw Wildvine wrapped around all of those tentacles. I personally think they're setting something up big when it comes to Ghost Freak's character, because those tentacles look so much like the tentacles we see Ghost Freak have within the original series. And oh boy, if all of the aliens and other characters within this series have these scary designs, I can't even imagine of how brutal Ghost Freak is gonna look like when we do get to see him in the future. Anyway, go down to those comments, tell me what you thought issue 4 of Ben 10. Share this video with all your friends. And hit that like and follow button to get all my latest content.